We are glad to have you back. So, gentlemen, on Monday, NAD, that's the National Association of Resident Doctors, commenced a 7-day warning strike. And of course, we know prior to that, they had protested at their different tertiary hospitals to, call forth for the release of their abducted colleague, Dr. Ganiat Popola, who has been kidnapped for eight months now. And on Thursday, that's day before yesterday, the federal government had come out to threaten them with a no work, no pay. I can see Mr. Steve smiling. It's a no work, no pay thing. And then we had the Ogun State chapter come up to call up their strike. We don't know if it's a national. We're still yet to get from the national body, but so far what we have is the Ogun State chapter of the resident doctors, have come up to call up the strike. But now, one of the things I want us to look at is we've had this discussion here, and I still want us to talk about it. It looks as though strike is one thing that tends to, it's like a method at which, you can get the attention of the federal government. We've also seen ASU, also try to, come in, and the federal government will be, okay, wait, calm down. So it looks as though it is one action that once you take, you get a very fast and quick response from the federal government. Do you also see it that way? And it looks like that was why the doctors had to, go through that route.
You see, it's very, very unfortunate that it has to come to this. And I will say this because in the military regime, it was thought that because there was no representation and the military governments, the successive ones, never really understood the feelings. But it is very tragic now that democracy that ought to be governed not just of the people, but from the people, by the people, and for the same people. They seem to be most disconnected at every different layers, and levels, deliberately or nonchalantly, they so what will you do, and they seem to even rub it, on the faces of the people. So, and that alone is really giving me serious concern, because we saw at End Bad Governance protest, notice was given, date was given, time, and all that. And I'm really nervous that going by the way things are going, nonchalant attitude of representatives of people in government, you could have something like kaboom without notice. A reaction that would trigger off things we might not be able to control. Now, you were just talking about the resident doctors and all that, and I also said disconnection. Why should we have a democracy where you have from councillor to chairman and all that, with ears of the people, on ground at every craning, should report and deal with complaints? But it's getting worse by the day. So, for the reason being that the councillor does not get treatment from the medical center of the local government, the governor does not seek for medical attention at the state teaching hospital, university teaching hospital. The president does not always seek medical attention within the country. So you have that wide gap. The same thing in education. You understand? So the issue we have is that let us, I told you the other time when we were talking of pricing and price control, that look, you can't really enforce what you do not provide. So the same thing with this. Let us patronize those hospitals. When the president goes to those hospitals, the governors go to those, they will see the lacunas, the deficiencies, and they're going to deal with it accordingly.
Okay. All right. Let's have Dr.
My brother.
But let's also, I'm sorry, let's also not forget that the reason for the protest which they had earlier and then the strike which they just called off was the abduction of the colleague.
Let me just marry the two things.
All right, please.
The adoption of the doctor,
Yes.
or the kidnapping of the doctor, was just one of the byproducts of what
Other
is happening
things.
in Nigeria today.
Okay.
The truth of the matter on ground is that if you look at what these doctors have been asking for, it's not something that they just wake up one morning and created it. It's something that has been a recurring decimal for over 6 to 8 years. I want to say something. I was at the opening ceremony of the Nigerian Bar Association Congress recently, and the guest speaker was Dr. Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. And she said something that even though the politicians at that point didn't take it serious with her because they felt she was just blabbing, but any serious-minded Nigerians who was there at that point will know that, look, this woman is trying to chart a roadmap that everybody who knows what is needed to be done should align. And what was she asking for? She was asking for our political leaders, regardless of the political party or religious affiliations or whatever, to have a social contract with the Nigerian people. I will explain a little bit of what I'm trying to say so that it does not bring this thing. She drew a parallel of when she was in government. She served the previous party for more than 8 years. Nigerians are all aware of what they did. But the question is, when a new emperor came into the throne, what did he do? He pushed all the things that they did aside, the good, the bad, the ugly aside, and started charting his own course. Where has that led us today? She gave us an example with Peru. As of the year 2010, Nigerian economy was far better than the Peruvian economy. But what did Peru did that was different from what Nigeria did? Peru does not even have oil. What did they do? Peru had a political crisis that when it was finally resolved, they came out with what they call a social contract with the people. There were some basic things like health, education, physical development and other things, very strong economic issues. And they said, okay, along this economic line, no matter how you get to power, what you can only do is try to improve on this, but not to jettison it, so that we can get to where we're going today. And today, as we're talking to you, Peru is one of the superpowers in terms of economy in South America. Not to talk of, the same thing was what India is doing. Narendra Modi did not come and said all the policies of the Indira Gandhis and all the other prime ministers were wrong. Rather, he only added and improved, and he moved around. What these medical doctors were asking for, is the same thing they've been asking for donkey years. They will reach an agreement with the federal government. The federal government will say, okay, we'll do this. What they can do, they do. What they cannot do, they leave behind so that another government will come and fulfill it, with the expectation that another government will come and fulfill it. Even when the government comes in, the same political party, but because you have another minister who has it, he say, no, I won't do that, because he does not think that there's enough for him to take into his pocket if he does that. So he jettisons that away and he starts another project. By the time these guys go on strike again, he will now call them, okay, let's renegotiate this particular term. So how long will you continue to renegotiate things? How long? That was why when you asked me that question, I said we can get out of this darkness if we want to, but we must be ready to work for it. Because if you don't renegotiate this issue, I mean, if you continue to renegotiate issues with Nigeria Medical Association, finish with Nigeria Medical Association, by December, ASU will come.
ASU are just right
they are just
by the corner.
By the time ASU finish, NUPEN will start. They have not started yet. We're still dealing with the issue of fuel scarcity and all those things. NUPEN has not said anything. By December, NUPEN will come. Should we continue to run around the same circle? Shouldn't we make progress? And we are not making progress because the norm that government is continual to our political leaders and religious leaders and everything. Government is not continual. When I get to office, I do what I like. When my friend and brother here gets into office, he can do whatever he likes. I don't care. That's not supposed to be.
Shouldn't be so.
It shouldn't be so. You can never build a nation in chaos. In Britain, the new prime minister inherited a doctor's strike. He sorted out the issue. He didn't sort it out renegotiating what has already been negotiated by his predecessor. No. He said, okay, we have this thing on table. What is your problem? What do we do? The doctor said, he said, no, that means that you are asking for an improvement of this. He said, yes. He said, okay, let's look at it very well. I can meet this, I cannot meet this. Let's meet at this point with this. That is all. And they moved ahead. But in our country, you kept finding everything being recycled. We can't make progress like this.
And we keep coming back to the negotiation table.
Coming back to the negotiation.
That has been negotiated.
Because the problem remains.
Because the problem remains.
A medical doctor was kidnapped. It's 8 months running. But we only got to know that because he is a medical doctor. Do you know how many others? Now, just a few weeks ago, I think last week precisely, you had a 74-year-old Isa Mohammed, Emma of Gobert, pleading, calling like an infant for help in 21st century, 2024, where you have drones, where you have GPS, where you have trackers and all that. And he was murdered gruesomely, less than maybe 48 hours or 72 hours thereafter.
Should it be like that?
If that had happened in 1940, you would say, well, maybe there were really equipments and technology to deal with that. But then, heroes, what makes society? One of them is the number of heroes they have. Because heroes live for nothing, but die for something. Nigeria seems to be a bit unfortunate because you have a multitude living for everything, like tomorrow will never come, to die for nothing. They die for nothing, they leave everything. You understand?
Yeah.
Before they are buried, people already stealing the documents for houses, for cars and all that. So that's why I also mentioned earlier that disconnection. See, Nigeria isn't too big to be governed. It is because it isn't secured. If you secure education, secure health, secure economy, everything, secure energy for the people. I was coming here, look, I was in Wuse 2 weeks ago, and 10 liters was not full, not filled up, was sold for 12,000 naira. You had all these youths all over. You know, it was an eyesore. You had private jeeps, Lexus just coming there by the roadside to get. You don't even know if they are adulterated. So, are you proud of that? If I were like an American visiting the FCT for the first time, and like I was in Washington, or like I was in The Hague, or like I was in Paris, does that obtains there? Then how do I respect you with your green and white, green passport when you shows up at my door? So these are the issues. We must secure critical sectors of the economy, of people's lives, so that those and deliver the goods, so that citizens can be patriotic to help make that entity prosperous.
And you know, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so you know, over this issue, the attention of the federal government has been drawn to the fact that Nigerians want to be able to work in an environment where, you know, they are not watching their back, scared, you know, of, okay, what will happen,
That's
you know,
all Nigeria wants.
exactly.
That's what
Which is also the attention the doctors are also drawing.
You know the problem. I personally, I hate to criticize the federal government. I hate criticizing government generally.
Okay.
It's not because I am in support of the government or anything. The only thing is that I believe that they are working.
Okay.
But they are not two things. They are either not working enough or they are not doing what they are supposed to do.
They are busy doing nothing.
They are busy doing nothing. And that is what makes the whole situation worse. I'll give you an example. Please, pardon me. During Barack Obama's reign as American president, Ford Models, Chevrolet, and another American Jeep were going to fold up. And in folding up, over 100 million jobs will be affected. As a matter of fact, that was what gave Barack Obama the advantage to win the presidency at that time. And immediately he got there, what did he do? He went, called the directors, the various managers of these two companies, of these three giant companies, called them together to a meeting. And he asked them what seemed to be the problem. And they told him, we are not selling enough cars. And he asked, why are you not selling enough cars? Some of them say, oh, it's our design. Our designs cannot compete with the Japanese models, our this and that and that and that. And he said, why have you not done it? They all brought out the solutions that they needed. And Barack Obama told them one thing. The federal government is going to take over the running of this company. We will pump in money into this company, and we expect you to go and work, do whatever you want to do to change the fortunes of this company within 4 years. The chief designer of Ford Motors happened to be a young Hausa man from the north. They redesigned Ford Motors, gave it some powerful touches that even the Japanese never expected. Ford Motors started rolling out cars. Sales within the market, vehicle world worldwide improved tremendously. After 4 years, what did Barack Obama did? He called the people back and said, okay, we are selling off the shares of these cars.
Back.
The people, they sold the shares back, collected the federal government money that was invested in them. They are still independent. Guinness Nigeria Limited gave the federal government a notice we are folding up from Nigeria. What did it do? Liver Brothers gave the federal government notice. What did they do? They didn't care. Millions of jobs and millions of families were going to go hungry.
Now you are criticizing.
Yes,
You hate to criticize.
yes, no, I hate to criticize.
I think it's pointing out.
Yes.
You must say it
Yes,
empty
yes.
because it is too bitter to swallow.
That's it.
It's too bitter to swallow.
That's it.
If you have protected these jobs for these people, for fellow Nigerians, and then you show them the way, it's just to protect for a certain period of time. After that, you move it into the market. Okay, we're talking about the interest rate, isn't it? If the federal government has at least crashed down the interest rate, some Nigerians will have rushed to the banks to collect loans from the bank, to buy all these things and say, okay, let us buy shares from this place. Let's move this business. Let's do this, so that employment can be generated. And that is a major job of the government. Create an enabling environment for people to get employment or for individuals to establish industries, which they have not done. So when you find all these small things coming up, something that they are supposed, that is why I supported Ngozi Iweala when she said, look, our politicians need to have a social contract with Nigerians so that we can move this country forward. I can't just wake up from my dream and then say I want to become a governor, and I get to become a governor, and then I start beating the drum and dancing it all by myself. What about the other individuals on the back? You are
That
telling
got
them,
you there.
yeah, who supported you to get there? And you are now telling them, well, when you get there, you can do your own. It's not supposed to be done. We can't see progress that way.
Yes. All right, thank you so much. I think some of everything is we need leaders who are problem solvers, who have that mentality of, okay, I want to serve, let's solve the problem on ground, and not try to make up our own pathway.
Yes,
So
because we're
thank you.
creating our own problems.
Yes, an additional problem to what is already on ground. So thank you so much, Mr. Steve Aya, who is the Financial Secretary of GPAN, and thank you so much, Mr. Oshomola Inuma, the publisher, frontpage.com.ng, and Assistant General Secretary to GPAN as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.